Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual. Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual. Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual. Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual. Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual. Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual.
Welcome to Jets Guru, Jets Content with Daniel Smith every Wednesday night as usual with his co-host Tyrus Kennedy, bringing knowledge to the squad. Guru Street Team laying an article eclipse Andrew and Vic. Guru Squad, we can't be beat. YouTube live, so feel the vibe and hit subscribe. Jets Guru, now it's time to go live. Now give it up for Daniel Smith and Tyrus Kennedy. Now let's go.
What is up, YouTube? What is up, Facebook? Welcome to Jets Guru. I mean, listen, I wasn't really factoring in the weather conditions at the time that we were making our picks. I didn't realize it was going to be raining like that the whole dang time, man. Because that was the sloppiest show of Jets football. And honestly, it was really hard to watch in general, just as an NFL fan, because Bo Nix was just so awful to watch and somehow beat the Jets with 60 yards passing, which is, I don't know. Anyways, before we get into that, I wanted to say a little bit of something here just because I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous the way Jet fans acted today, especially on the posts that were made from Jets Guru. Your response, I mean, did we forget who Garrett Wilson has been for us? Do I need to go on Wikipedia to go find the full list of Jets wide receivers over the last 20 years? And how many of those wide receivers that you could legitimately tell me are better than Garrett Wilson? Because I'll tell you, there's not a lot of them. And if you're talking about drafted wide receivers, you talk about young wide receivers, you're not going to find too many of those either. Not very, because the Jets don't really draft good wide receivers. Not like that. Not like this guy. This guy somehow mustered 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons with Zach Wilson and company, with 4 different quarterbacks. And we saw the offenses. They were one of the worst offenses we've seen in a long time the last couple of years. And he somehow mustered enough of that. And we forgot about all of that in one game. One game. As Jet fans, we forgot all about that. And we took the blame off of Nathaniel Hackett and the weather and Surtain, right? Because let's be clear here. And I want every single person that's watching this show and will watch this show, and there will be a lot of them. There will be a lot of them, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Go look up any great, legendary, or good corner, and you will find that they have locked up many good, great, and legendary wide receivers, and that doesn't make the wide receiver any less of a player, because you're not going to go out and be 100-plus yard receiver guy every game. That's not Garrett Wilson, and he's not in this offense. Some people said, well, Justin Jefferson does it. And I said, do you realize that he is in another class of wide receiver right now? Okay. So let's be fair to Garrett Wilson. Okay. Rookie of the year, right? 1,000-yard receiver. Could he be a 1,300-yard receiver in a different offense with a different quarterback over the last 2 years? It is very possible. And I'm a betting man, and I would definitely bet over that. But this is where we stand. He is 4 games in with Aaron Rodgers. 4 games in. And out of those 4 games, can you name more than Garrett Wilson, who's had trouble acclimating to the offense and the system right now? Because I can. I've seen many players who had high expectations like Garrett Wilson, who have failed to meet their expectations or are just playing a little bit sluggish at times or from game to game. This team is trying to build an identity, okay? They have never played a full season together before. They had 4 plays last year, and just because you throw the ball around in camp a few times and padded practices, it is not in game. It is not in inclement weather, okay? It is not against that type of talent. Because even in good weather, even if the Jets offense was rolling, it was going to be a hard afternoon for Mr. Wilson. So why can't we just say the weather was awful, right? Mr. Surtain had a great game in bad weather, which always favors the defense and the cornerbacks in bad weather, okay? Because guess what? Wide receivers have a hard time breaking, and you have to fool the defender into what direction you're going to. So you have to make the first move. So your move has to be crisp coming off the route, which is a lot harder to do in bad weather. And I heard all sorts of stuff about his size, that he's not, now he can't play wide receiver anymore, people said. I don't think he can actually play on the outside the way that Surtain jammed him up and pushed him around. Oh, are you kidding me? This man just spent 2 years playing on the outside with awful quarterback play and awful system play with no running game, with running backs that were hurt. I mean, dude, he was the guy, and he showed up when called upon. He is not perfect. He is a 23, 24-year-old man, and he didn't come out like Mr. Kennedy said when we were having our pre-meeting. He didn't come out and say, I want the damn ball like Keyshawn Johnson. He just said we need to switch things up. And that's what we've been saying. We don't want run, pass, right? Why are we doing run, pass every series to start off when we have Aaron Rodgers? We did that with Zach Wilson. Why are we doing that with Aaron Rodgers, right? Why aren't we seeing the tight end being utilized, right? Why aren't we seeing Allen used when he gets on a roll? To me, it just boggles my mind. Why aren't we using the big back that's like a mini Derrick Henry when I see him run out there? Why isn't he used on the goal line? Who is calling these plays? Is the man competent enough? Is he checking? And we don't know. How much communication do we know about? How much is Aaron Rodgers doing what he's doing out there? What is going on? Because what I can tell you is this offense is not being utilized properly with the talent that is there. And I will still remind everyone, this is game 4. That was bad weather. The Broncos did struggle on offense too. The Jets did have a chance to win this game. Okay? So it's not like they got blown out and he was so bad and everyone was miscommunication. The Jets had a chance to win this game. They weren't out of this. All right? He makes that field goal kick. I bet you this sentiment is not the same. And everyone's siding with Wilson because we did get the win. And they are saying, well, we do need to pick up our offense. Wilson is right. We need to switch it up. So because of the loss, it changes the man, the player, and for what he's done for the franchise the last 2 years. This is how we keep young talent. This is the way we talk about young talent. He didn't curse. He didn't say nothing. He didn't point fingers. This man did this man did that. He's just saying we need to switch it up. We need to do something different. Something I think we all can agree with, Mr. Kennedy. And some of the stuff I saw today, Jet fans should be embarrassed of themselves the way they commented on this young man who showed a tremendous amount of agility out there. over the last 2 years to show the ability to go up and get the ball, that show the ability on the sideline to keep his feet in. Way more so than even Curly. And we saw the difference in that. So for me, I just it just completely, I mean more, sorry. Elijah Moore. Way more so. When you look at the drafted wide receivers and the ability to work the sidelines and get open and get feet in and make outstanding catches in weird torque positions when the ball is this way and that way. I mean, he has done things we have not seen a wide receiver do in a Jets uniform in a long time. And I thought that was a tremendous amount of disrespect thrown at this young man. If you want to say he's immature, sure, right? Maybe keep it to yourself, right? Maybe talk to someone behind the scenes instead of openly saying it, right? These are the things that we could talk about, right? Grow from this. Don't put everything out in the open for the team and for everybody to hear, right? These are the things we could talk about. But the breakdown of the character of the person and the player, I think, is off-putting.
Yeah. So I'm watching some of the comments, and let me address those real quick. So Scott, first and foremost, nobody's saying not to hold him accountable. That's not what this is about. The thing is, there's critique and then there's being crazy, right? And the things he's talking about are some of the things we both have seen, like outright hate, outright disrespect, like nonsense. I've seen people talking about they wish he get hurt, wish he died, just craziness. That's what we're talking about. Not holding him accountable. I told Daniel myself, holding him accountable for not running routes correctly, not catching the ball, making that fumble, not being completely in the game. Those are things that are fair to critique because those are things that he did. But when you get past that and veer way left, that's when it's a problem. So, no, it's not about accountability from him. It's about fickleness from stupid people saying stupid stuff that none of us need to see or hear. And that's it. But
Oh,
anyways,
absolutely. Nobody even
Garrett will be
said
fine.
not to hold him. Nobody even said not to hold him accountable. And anybody that watched this show more than 5 minutes or any one of my posts or my write-ups or anything that I have knows that that is not the case because I do my research and I come out here each and every week and from a fan perspective give my best take. And I know I'm right there on the money for a lot of things and understanding what the Jets are and how football players are and how they should operate to the best of my ability. And what I'm telling you and what I'm telling everybody else is don't forget what kind of talent he has brought to this team, despite how bad this offense has been, even as bad as Jets history has been in offense. Those teams over the last couple of years has been some of the worst offense that this franchise has ever seen. And he was a shining bright star along with Breece Hall. And what I'm saying to everybody is look at the person who's really causing this issue. It is the offensive coordinator. We have seen no growth in his play calling ability and his ability to make adjustments. The Jets are so sluggish on that from game to game. Sometimes they come out and make adjustments. Sometimes they don't when things look so obvious. I just don't understand who's calling the shots. Is it Rodgers? Is it Hackett? What is going on? Because that's the dynamic I want to more know and talk about. Not a young 24-year-old receiver who's just learning how to work with a Hall of Fame quarterback, okay, and had a really bad game in the rain against a really good cornerback, okay? Like Garrett hasn't had a good game. It's mind-blowing where we need to focus on the fact, why are we designing run plays for Breece Hall that don't fit his skill set, okay? They use Breece Hall like they use Braylon Allen. And I don't understand why they do that because they should be run in different ways. And for me, when you're on the goal line, you do not go away from Allen, who he gets a half a second of steam. He's falling forward. Actually, in fact, I'd like someone to look it up if you can, how many times he's actually been negative yards since becoming a pro, because it can't be too many at all. And for me, I think players aren't being utilized properly. Why isn't Garrett Wilson being put in the slot more? Because I don't understand that. Aaron Rodgers is a pro. He's not going to get him killed. He's going to touch the ball a lot more. He's a wiry type of guy that has great yards after catch. And we're not even experimenting with an athletic guy like him. That's the type of stuff. And where is Corley, right? We drafted him. This is a guy that has good potential. We haven't seen much of him either, right? Now, I know everyone has to get acclimated with Aaron Rodgers, and I get that, right? But we have a talented roster, and we need guys to be utilized properly. And I don't blame the quarterback. I blame some of these play designs and some of the structure in which we're calling them. You're putting us in a hole similarly to last year that used to piss me off all the time when the Jets are constantly in 3rd and 7. If the run is not working, switch to the secondary back. If he's the hot hand, roll with him. It changes the dynamics of the team. We saw it. Every time Allen is introduced into the offense looks a little different. And I love the fact that you could put Breece Hall out wide a lot more. And he's shown this year that you can really actually throw to him similar to a wide receiver. So mix and match with that. Don't just send him out on fly routes. Mix them in the slot a little bit, right? Like, be creative, right? Be creative with your running back room. To me, this is more of a Hackett issue. This is more of a head coach issue in a lot of ways, right? And for me, I'm not going to come out here and blame Wilson because he had one bad game as a New York Jet.
Yeah. I'm gonna just one more thing about this Garrett situation, and we can move on. So we got this comment again. It says, but we're fourth of the way through the season. Before you know it, they'll be halfway. He needs to run routes cleaner. Stop being lazy because you're not getting the ball. Half of that is true. He needs to run routes cleaner. But that last part, him being lazy because he's not getting the ball, that is just nonsense. Because he is getting the ball. He's leading the team in targets. He's averaging 9 targets a game. So he's getting the ball. Again, not once did he complain about target share or not getting the ball. He only complained about how he's being used and utilized in Hackett play calling. That's it. And he was right. He was right.
And that's the thing, like the character assassination of the young man, in a sense, where it's like, why is lazy attributed to it? I do not think that Garrett Wilson is lazy. Can you say cleaner routes? Sure. But cleaner routes in a game that is in the rain all day long, like no one else ran a bad route in that game. I mean, come on. Like, this is for a player that's given you this much talent. You're going to jump on him this bad for one bad game. And again, didn't say target share, said we need to switch things up on offense a little bit. And I agree. And I do think he deserves more targets. I think he should be utilized better. I do think Breece Hall should be utilized differently. I do think Braylon Allen should be utilized differently. I do think they should be on the field a lot more than I've seen them at the same time, because it's hard for teams to, understand what they're doing, because you could run with either back, right? And either back has proven that they could catch out of the backfield, and Breece has shown that he could play out wide, right? So you could do a lot of things pre-snap and switch things around, and you can expose what the base defense wants to do, which is going to give Aaron Rodgers more of a tell where he wants to go. And I think that you can't just say, well, Aaron could just change plays at the line. Well, there's a respect level there, too, between Aaron Rodgers and the offensive coordinator. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is just changing every play at the line. And so I want the offensive coordinator to call better damn plays. And I think Aaron Rodgers probably has more control, I would assume, when you're in more of those situations where Aaron really sees something that, like, hey, I'm going to switch this here. I don't think Aaron just comes in the huddle like, yo, we're going to just change this on Hack every play. Like, I don't think he's playing it like that. So I really, and you could see it in the course of the game. You can almost see when the Jets start getting into these roles where they're picking up the pace a little bit. I do kind of think maybe Aaron's taking a little bit more control there. But to start the game, you're telling me that Aaron Rodgers is giving you that game plan to start the game? No, I don't think so. I think that's Hackett.
Listen, Scott. We are holding him accountable. Like I've said that. At this point, you're just crying to be crying.
What do you want to do? Run more stairs or something? Go run more stairs, kid. More push-ups. What do you want to bench him because he fumbled? I mean, guys make mistakes. So, Aaron Rodgers throws a pick or Aaron Rodgers fumbles. You want to bench him now? Like, I mean, what are we talking about here? Players fumble in the rain. It happens. We've seen it. I mean, dude, we saw Keith Byers fumble in the AFC Championship game. He never fumbles the football, and he fumbled in the worst possible time for the Jets in the AFC Championship game. Does that invalidate him? No. Did that invalidate his career? Absolutely not. It's a horrible moment. It sucks. It's a teachable moment, sure. Yeah, but Garrett has a mentality, and do you want him to stop going for yards after the catch and just fall on the ground? Because I heard people complain about that too. Oh, he just catches the ball and falls on the ground. Are you kidding me? I've seen this guy over the last 2 yards twist and rip and stop and juke and get so many yards after the catch and bring excitement to the field for the first time in a young Jets receiver in a while, man. Like, it's crazy. Like, what do you actually want the New York Jets to do with this young man? Do you want them to fine him because he fumbled?
Oh, we got to go.
It is wild. It is. But this is what it's been all day long. And to me, it's just more than the game. And so moving on to Breece versus Braylon, right? Breece versus Braylon is something that we kind of talked about a little bit. And to me, it's absolutely wild. Like we said, the way these guys have been used. Mr. Kennedy, I'm going to let you start with this one first. To me, I think the Jets should ride Allen in certain situations. I mean, how do you think they've been using him?
They've been using them piss poor. And there's really no other way to say it. So, like, you go back to the game, 1st and goal on the 1. Like, you have a 6'2", 240-pound running back who runs like a wrecking ball. You give him the ball. Like, you give him the ball 4 times if you need to. And if they stop it, they stop it. That should be the hill that they all should be willing to die on. Like, you saw Breece, he just looked not himself that whole game. In the run game, in the passing game, like the whole game, he didn't look like himself. And you had Braylon, who had, I think, 9 carries. 7 of them was for positive yards. I think 1 of them was loss of 1. The other one was just no gain. But, he had a 9-yard run, a 4-yard run, a 5-yard run. Like, he got 3 first downs. Why are you not feeding him? You saw who had the hot hand. Now, that being said, he's not ready to overtake Breece, right?
No.
But what he is ready for is a bigger share. What he is ready for is to be on the field more with Breece. Like, you can run Breece out wide. You can line him up in the backfield and hand it off to either one of them. Like, they have to do more with both these guys. And we're not seeing that with Hackett. Hackett just can't hack it. And that's just what it is. Like Victor just pointed out, it was 4.2 yards per carry versus 0.4. 0.4. So, again, they need to figure out how to utilize them both. And I get, we can't say, it was raining. So, it was. But you saw Javonte Williams take off for 77 yards. You saw McLaughlin get 20, 30 yards. I think they had 125 yards on the ground. You saw on our team, again, Braylon Allen getting positive yardage. It goes back to what you said, Hackett. He's not calling the right plays. He's very predictable. And the one time when he should have been predictable on 1st and goal at the 1, he wasn't. Why are you throwing the ball to Solomon Thomas? Like, come on, man. Do better.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree with you. I mean, just look at the stats. I mean, Breece has almost double the carries, right? But he only has like 40 more yards realistically than Allen. And it's just, for me, you got to ride the hot hand in certain situations, especially when it changes the dynamic. They're different backs. They're different sizes. They run at different speeds. So for me, when you're struggling in the run like that, stick with the guy that's hot, and you have the ability to run Breece out wide and still satisfy the target share that players all like and want. Like, it's like, hey, you're not running, but you're playing, bud, because realistically, I think this should be a 50-50 split share right now as we
Oh
see
no.
it. And I honestly agree because listen, when you get down there and you have to constantly have 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, that's not dealing you well. Like, I mean, that's not serving you well later in the game. Like, the Jets shouldn't have to be playing this field goal at the last second or comeback football against teams that really aren't that good. You need to stabilize your running game. Your running game is going to set up your passing game. Right now, the Jets are predictable. You have a play caller who doesn't know how to call plays correctly, and then you have a roster of a bunch of talented players to utilize and to kind of target, and he's not doing it. And you're not running the ball well. So it's pretty simple and easy in how to play the Jets. And it's not really being transferred on the field like Brees could do this. Okay, so let's see it more. Garrett could do this. Okay, let's see it more. Allen could do this. All right, he's right there in the goal line. No, we're going to call a completely different play for a guy that is the type of player you draft for that type of scenario. And if you go 2 plays where a Braylon Allen gets stuffed at the line, you live with it because you know what he's capable of, and you draft a player like this because he's different than Brees Hall, and you don't want Brees Hall coming off of knee surgery, and because to me, he's not that type of a player. I don't want Brees Hall running on the inside. I want him bouncing on the outside and using that beautiful speed and athleticism that he has, not getting tangled up in linemen. This is what that big bruiser's for. Let him beat that defense down as a change of pace back. And then as the game goes along, Brees's quickness and athleticism will get him more chunk yards. And then as you get closer to the goal line, you use Braylon Allen because you can always use Brees Hall out wide. You can always get reception touchdowns. You can always get catches. And something like that should satisfy players' target share in a very, very packed field of players because you got tight ends that can play, receivers that can play, and you might even get Devontae Adams that's a potential play here coming down the line. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me as a Jet fan because I've waited so long to have this type of a collection of talent. For so many years, we were just waiting for players to be like the players we have, and then now we don't have the offensive coordinator that can to deploy them. Who is the offensive coordinator, Mr. Kennedy, that we had the year McCown went off? I always forget his name. When we had 2,000-yard receivers in Curse and Anderson. He came from the Raiders, and we got rid of him 1 year because he pissed off Bowles.
I honestly can't remember.
I think because like he wanted to throw the football more, and Bowles wanted them to run the football more, and they had someone's going to throw the name up there. I always forget his name. I guarantee you, if he was our offense coordinator, we'd be okay. This is throwing me off so bad because we do need to win this game. There's a good chance that you could be 2-4 out of the next 2 games. You could come out being 2-4, and this is a chance where you had to get a pick-me-up game, right? Go to 3-1, potentially beat the Vikings, go to 4-1, and then you play a division opponent that knows you well, plays well. You play well against them at home. It's just, it was a failed opportunity. It was a failed opportunity for me as a fan to really enjoy a football game. Like, I was supposed to go to that game. It was in the rain. I think the Broncos played exactly the game that the Jets should have played, especially offensively. And I think an even bigger problem, right, going past Brees versus Allen, when are the Jets going to stop the run? Because this is getting to a point where I think this might be the biggest issue that the Jets really have, because in close games against the Titans and the Broncos, and we'll see as time goes on what those teams wind up becoming, because I think you can always look back, you get to midseason and you say, okay, well, it was close against the Titans, and then the Broncos, they beat us in a close game, and you wind up looking further ahead and those teams are straight garbage, or if they're really competitive teams, it changes how you view it. And that's why I think it's a little too early to put the determination on what the Jets are really going to be. I could tell you what they are not now, but I can't tell you what they're going to be. And for me, the Jets need to find a way to run the football. And if that means that you have to split shares to maybe wake Mr. Brees up a little bit, or maybe you just found a running back that happens to possibly work better with the offensive line that you currently have right now, which nobody's actually really discussing. Could Allen be a better running back for the offensive line that you currently have? Because if you really think about it, this offensive line is completely different than it was last season and the year before that. So, isn't it possible that this running style works better with this offensive line?
I don't know. But what I do know is they need to do one thing. Go look at the Detroit Lions and look at what they do with David Montgomery and J. Mark Gibbs.
Yep.
That's all you gotta do. You'll solve that problem. Like, you have the bruising Montgomery, you have the shifty, speedy pass catching guy in Gibbs, and that's the Jets to a T. That's all you gotta do. Look at what they do. And it's not like a full, we're doing a 50-50 share, 60-40 share like somebody mentioned earlier. What they do is they go with the hot hand. They run, they play better situational football. Depending on what's going on, that's who's in the game. And that's all the Jets need to do. Play better
Yeah.
situational football, and they will be fine. That's it.
Yeah. Use your talent to what it was designed to do.
No,
This is
Scott.
what
No.
Listen, Scott told us earlier that he was comparing Kevin Robbins' love for Zach Wilson or something in the last 2 years. He said to Garrett Wilson. In what world do we put Garrett Wilson and Zach Wilson in the same class? It is not even close, at least right now. I guess maybe you could see the end of the careers and go
Listen,
from there.
Brees is not a necessary piece to go get Devontae Adams.
They've already put the value out there.
That honestly makes no sense. And I know where this is stemming from based off of the comments you said earlier about paying players and all of that. They got to pay them next year. They actually don't. They have room to spread it out. They don't
A
have
lot
to
of
pay
room.
everybody next year. So, Sauce will be up first, naturally. Then you got Garrett. JJ can hold off a year because it's all, they'll take all of them 5th-year options. So you have time. You don't have to rush anything. They still have them under team control, and they'll pay them all. They don't have to do it all next year. Just that simple.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I agree. And I think if anyone should get traded, and I hate to say it's gonna be probably either Corley or Mike Williams. Like Mike Williams is on a year deal, if I'm not mistaken, or 2-year deal, right?
Yeah, it's
And
1 year.
so it'd be easier to move a Williams to make room, because I know Lazard would be the target that you would want to get rid of, but I don't know if Aaron would okay that. And I know people say that it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And he's actually having a good year now, being reconnected with his quarterback. So Williams is playing well too. Like, it's tough. Like, if I'm the Jets, okay, if I'm the Jets, and then we'll move right into the keys. If I'm the Jets, okay, I if they want a second rounder and a fourth rounder, and you could give them a Gibson, or you could give them a Corley, or you could give them a Mike Williams, who probably is not going to be back next year unless somehow he explodes, which he's just really working back, and he's actually been a good trooper, just going out there working his way back. But he looks really good out there too. So the Jets may say, and I could see the Jets going, well, we really don't need it. We just have to fine tune what we have here. But man, imagine having Williams on one side, right? If you don't get rid of him, Adams on the other side, and Garrett Wilson in the slot. That would be, because that would be terrible. Absolute mayhem out there with all of those pieces if that was actually able to pull it off. And even the Packers return, even Adams, Lazard, Garrett, but it just doesn't fit right like that. It fits better with Williams, Adams, and Garrett in the slide.
Well, if they get Devontae, I think Mike will be the odd guy out
I
because
know.
Lazard is already under contract for next year, and
Yep.
they'll rework Devontae's contract. So you'll have three guys that's under contract. And never mind. I'm not gonna even you
Wait,
know.
we have to talk. Can Mr. Victor says, can we somehow convince them to take Reddick in a draft pick
I
without
don't think
having
they
to
want
get rid
that
of Risky?
headache. See that's the thing. I don't think
Under
anybody wants to
Pierce,
deal.
but under Pierce, right? Under it might be a guy that aligns. They do need some more talent there, and they don't have a quarterback yet. So I don't. Maybe. I mean, I mean, listen. I don't
I
know
don't
where
care,
they.
Scott.
Obviously, the Scott still. I'm not even looking at this. And Scott's still going.
Like he's hung up. Like I don't think he's really listening to anything I said. Uh, all I said was they don't have to pay anybody because they have them under contract. I mean, you could you could wish in one hand, shit in the other. Don't mean it's gonna happen, and that's basically all it is. They're still under contract. They don't have to rush to pay him. I mean, you can't extend them to after the third year, anyways. So it is what it is. Like I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just saying what they don't have to do. That's it. That's simple.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, listen, the fact of the matter is the Jets defense and going into Jets grounded. I mean, listen, the Jets defense is they got to get pressure on the quarterback, but we could say that about any defense, right? So we look at a sloppy game like that where you don't touch the quarterback as much as you want. Your quarterback gets beat down into the ground. Uh, you got to play better, right?
Yeah.
The secondary did their job. Bo Nix is terrible at throwing the football. There was a lot of plays where like he threw the ball and like nobody was there. Like it wasn't like there was miscommunication. It was just like nobody was there. Like several plays. Like I was like very puzzled at what was really going on with the kid. And the Jets were in position to win that game. And I know it's hard. It's not you can't get mad at Greg. Greg kept you in the game. It was a tough kick. The Broncos kicker missed his kick. It but they were in position to win the game, right? It's not like we were blown out. It's not like this is a tape you get, you really just throw it away, right? Honestly, you just take it, you go, listen, this is not us, okay? We're somewhere in between the Titans and the Patriots. That's where we really probably are realistically. I really think the 49ers game is not really the Jets defense, right? I really don't believe that. And I really don't believe the Jets offense is the Broncos game. I really don't believe that. I really do believe that this team is right in between right now, that Titans and that Patriots game. Like we are we're trying to figure it out. We're struggling a little bit at times, but also you see how the Jets offense can move the ball. And I do believe that Hackett is really, really bad, really, really bad and I really do think that Aaron Rodgers bails him out as a play caller and a user of talent. But what do you think, Mr. Kennedy, about the Jets game this past Sunday?
Uh, it was terrible. I mean, it from the standpoint of discipline, from the standpoint of play calling, personnel usage, like everything was just bad. Lack of sacks. They did get some pressures, but it was just one big undisciplined mess, and that's just what they have to clean up. I mean, I know the conditions were bad, and the coaching was bad, but at the end of the day, after all the miscues and mess ups and all of that, they still had a chance to win the game. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm not, crying over spilled milk or you know, carrying on about it in the comments everywhere and all of that because, they still could have won the game. And if he hit that kick, nobody would be saying half the stuff that they're saying. So they need to see it for what it is, learn from it, and move on. And like Simon said in the comments, this team will be fine, and I do believe that.
Absolutely, I do believe that 100%. The one thing that I think is really, like I said, a concern for me, and it's carried through literally almost the whole season. So that's how I know that this is actually a concern. You have to stop the run. That is something the Jets have to figure this out. Because that's the one thing I can point to. The Jets offensive line. There's some players that have had bad games, and then they've turned around and had good games, and vice versa. Some games the tight ends evolve, sometimes they're not, sometimes this guy, that guy, that guy. But the stopping the run has been consistently hard throughout the whole entire season to start. And, as you get later into the season, you do not want to be pounded into the ground. Like the Jets are set to control the clock. That's how they're set up. You don't want it the other way around where defenses are keeping our talented offense off the field because they're extending drives because they're instead of 3rd and 8 and taking advantage of the secondary, we're not stopping the run. And it's really 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, where then all these athletic quarterbacks that these teams play. Once you get into that 3rd and 3, there's so much you could do with running backs and with receivers and the quarterback himself. You want to make it as difficult as possible. And you want the defense to put so much pressure on their running game that they have to throw the football and you push them to throw the ball. You want these teams coming from behind and throwing the ball into your strength, which is Sauce and Reed and Carter and all those guys. That's when you'll start seeing the picks and you'll start seeing the plays because right now the Jets defensive line aren't stopping the run. So it's like, hey, let's run the football, grind it out. And the Jets have to put a stop to that. I don't know if they have to get an extra body or what they need to do, but something needs to happen. And maybe we could figure something out with all the receivers that we have. But obviously at this point in the year, you're not going to find anyone. I don't think that's going to significantly make a super difference. But if you can get a body out there that can in rotation that could stop this run, because right now it's not working. But let's go to the 4 keys, baby.
All right. So I wasn't here last week to give them to you, but this week, my 4 keys are the 4 P's this week: pressure, penalties, personnel, and play calling. So in order to, they have to get more pressure up front, right? Um, Last week, like I said, they had 0 sacks. Coming off of 7 with New England or whatever it was. This week with Denver, it just wasn't the same. Could have been the weather. I don't know, but no, it's not the weather. They just didn't get it. Didn't get it done. So they have to apply, more pressure on this team because if you give Sam time, he will be able to throw the ball everywhere. He has 2 dogs out there with Addison and with Jefferson. So if they have time to move around, that secondary is going to be in trouble. So they got to get pressure up front. On the flip side, the offensive line has to continue to work well in pass protection because as of week 4, the Vikings, they're leading the league in pressures, and I think they're 3rd in total sacks. So they are getting to the quarterback. They are causing problems in the backfield. And, the Jets have to they have to address that and take care of that. But as of right now, in pass pro, the Jets are 6th in lowest pressures allowed, so they can get it done. All right, so the next key is penalties. They got to clean up the penalties. Point blank. They had 13 penalties last week for 90 yards. And the worst part about it is it was repeat penalties by the same people doing the same things. Will McDonald lining up in the neutral zone more than once. Brees Hall false start more than once. John Simpson false start more than like those are things you have to address. You have to clean up. Salah's got to get in their ass, man. He's got to stop being a friend and start being the head coach. So in order for them to do that, they have to clean up the bullshit. Period. Like I said before, they got to avoid the drive killers and avoid the drive extenders for the other team. Next key is personnel. We talked about it a little earlier. You got to have the right people on the field. If they're not producing, sit them down. Garrett looked lost, running the wrong routes, dropping the ball, fumbling the ball. You should have put him on the sideline. Put somebody else out there. Same with Brees. Put Allen out there. Like you can't be scared, to sit your players. You're showing everybody, hey, everybody's being held accountable. Everybody has a job to do, and you have to do it. If you can't, I'll get somebody else to do it. And finally, the last P is play calling. Everybody's sick of run, pass, punt. You got to mix it up. You throw some screens, some jet sweeps. Get innovative. You have the talent. You have the speed. You have the arms. You have the legs to do pretty much anything. Yet, you still running a high school offense. You got to do better with that. And as an honorable mention, protection. They got to protect better. Aaron Rodgers got sacked 5 times last week. So they got to pull it together. And they do that. They get all 4, they'll win the game. Hell, they get 3 out of 4, they'll win the game. 2 out of the 4, they pushing it. They only do 1 right, it's another loss.
Absolutely, brother. So give us your prediction. Jets versus Vikings. What happens? What's the score?
Oh, man. It's going to be tough. But I can see them pulling this one out 24-20. Somebody said it earlier. Simon talked about, made the comment about Vikings giving up those passing yards, which they do. So if they can get on the same page, and if I want Garrett to come in there with a huge chip on his shoulder, for one, off of what he did last week, and for 2, when Justin Jefferson said respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson. I mean, he wasn't lying. He's not. But I want him to be like, well, Garrett ain't that bad. So if he comes in there like that, handles his business, they can move the ball up and down the field. They just going to have to protect better and get after Sam. You pressure him, have him seeing ghosts, he'll start turning the ball over. They do that, they can win this game.
Absolutely, 100%. But it's going to be tough here. I mean, people are not realizing, the quarterback gets all of the credit. And Darnold is playing well with the Vikings. But I've seen Darnold play well before. But when everything is squarely put on Darnold, that's when he makes the mistakes. Like when McCaffrey, he was playing well with the Panthers until McCaffrey went out, then things changed. And what people aren't talking about is Aaron Jones is running the ball really well. And what is the one thing that Jets Guru said that the Jets have carried over from every single game, at all the players and all the schemes and all the things that have happened? They cannot stop the run. And you have a back that has over 350 yards, 5 yards a carry. That is who is carrying Mr. Sam Darnold right now. That's who's protecting Sam Darnold and allowing him to be able to throw the ball around. It's not like Darnold is having 400-yard passing games. I looked at the game just the other day. I think he had like 170 or 200 yards passing, like 3 touchdowns. Like, He's playing efficient football with the players that he has because Jones is able to run the football. You take Jones out of the equation and you put this squarely on Sam Darnold having to figure out and go head to head with Aaron Rodgers, and I guarantee you the Jets will have a victory. But you cannot come out there and allow Aaron Jones to run for 5 yards a carry, and you can't allow Sam Darnold to be completely untouched like Bo Nix was, because Sam Darnold is not Bo Nix. I can tell you that much 100%. Because what Sam Darnold could be is a quarterback that's finally clicked in a system and has turned the corner similarly to Geno Smith. So we have to be careful.
Yep.
We absolutely have to be careful with what's going on right now, because we don't know what Sam Darnold is, but we know what Aaron Jones is, and we know that the Jets haven't been able to run the football. Other than that, on a neutral field, I 100% believe that the New York Jets on a neutral field will be able to offensively compete with them. It's stopping the run, touching the quarterback.
Yeah, I do agree. So just to touch on that real quick, right now, talking about the defense, I think the Jets defense is top 5 scoring defense. They're 5th. They are top 3 overall defense. They're 2nd in passing, but they're 20th in rushing defense. So we definitely have to protect that. I think Lotu is coming back. I don't know if he'll be available for this game, but that's encouraging to have a big guy in the middle coming in. So we getting pieces back. Things look like they could turn around for us. So hopefully, they can pull it off. Now I don't know what his prediction was. I hope it wasn't another 31-10 prediction, because he gets wild with those those scoring predictions. I kind of have to reel him in every week. But I don't think that this is a guaranteed. Scott said, "Guru, you changed."
Yeah,
I don't think this is a guaranteed win for the Vikings at all. They have their faults, just like the Jets do. One can't stop the pass, the other can't stop the run. So whoever exploits the other one the best, that's who'll win this game. And I do think with Mike Williams turning the corner, with Alan Lazard turning that corner, hopefully Gary comes in with that chip on his shoulder, and hopefully Hackett on the flight over there can pick up some goddamn common sense. I think they can pull it off. So,
yeah.
With that being said, hey
Yeah.
man, it's been real. Even though me and Scott went back and forth in the comments a little bit, it's always love,
Yeah.
even in disagreement. But yeah, we'll be here next week. Got the game early Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Central. And I think it'll be a good one, man. So that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to Just Guru. Make sure you like, share, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, and share with your friends on your personal pages, and let's get this thing growing and going. So on behalf of Mr. Daniel Smith, Just Guru himself, our super producer, Mr. J.R. Brower, and myself, TK, thank you for tuning in, and let's go Jets.
Go.
What you know about rolling down in the down in the
Now I know y'all be loving this shit
What
right
you know
here.
about